and Allahu Akbar, everybody in the planet Earth. My name is Abbas Temori. Time is 2:26. Today is Monday, 14th. I have an hour time to do this. As you know, you must have seen the previous videos. We're continuing to explain and describe and study together this Mathnavi of Baha'u'llah, this eternal Mathnavi of Baha'u'llah, pertains to divinity and our approach to understand the meaning and the presence of God and meaning of life. In these lines, Baha'u'llah really talks about the stamina of the spiritual power and how far can it go, and at the same time trying to explain the understanding that we have in the previous dispensations of the power of God. It's really seriously dismal. It's a child story as opposed to what the reality it is and what he's explaining. So it goes, زلف او ناری که سوزد جان عشق. Zulf is the hair. As I said in the past, Sufis primarily, they create a manifestation for God in the form of a beautiful woman, which every part of this woman would resembles, things in the creation. For example, the length of the night, or the darkness of the night, or the darkness of the hair, and so on and so forth. So Baha'u'llah uses one of those, and he says, her hair, Zulfa'u, or his, or her. U stands for both male and female in Persian. We don't have he and she, we just have U, meaning he or she. Zulfa'u, the hair of God, it says, a fire. That suzat, burns away Jan Ishq, the life of the love. Jan Ishq. Ishq is love. Jan means the very essence, the very life of the love. It burns away. This nar, which means atash, which means fire, it's all reference to that burning bush, the fire that Moses saw. He says that you saw that. Okay, but just even the hair of this God, this beautiful spiritual being, is like that fire that burns away the very life of love. Depends on what you call love. So, love is essentially expression that we have from our desire. When we express our desire about something, that becomes, love towards that thing. When it becomes accumulative and it becomes very fervent, when it becomes unbearing, the lack thereof. So we call that love. He says, if those type of love that you're talking about, the love towards God, the love towards anything that you call it alive, pure love, and he says this fire just burns away that. So often those people who thought they are in love with God, and when the test comes, the entire fire that they had in their heart, the fire of love they had, it just quenched, extinguished. Example, Peter. Saint Peter was very brave. He really loved Jesus to death, or that's what he was thinking. And he said, and he was not lying, he says, I will never leave you, Master. I will always protect you. He was the bravest of them all, But Jesus told him, not yet. You're just a child. You will deny me 3 times. And he did. if that is what you're saying is your love, Baha'u'llah says it burns it away. When that fire comes from Jesus, in this case, when I took him, now you have to withstand. If you call that love, when you think it's love, it will just burn away. It cannot stand a chance. He goes on, he says, never mind love. He says, kufr و iman همسر و سامان عشق. Kufr means the infidelity. Iman, fidelity, faith. Totally opposite to each other. Kufr when you're infidel. Iman, what's faith and belief. Ham also Sarasaman ishq. Sarasaman, it's a Persian word. It's a compound word. Consists of sar, which means head, or and saman means security, but in one piece. But sarasaman means to organize something, to tidy up, to put it together. So if the situation is very disturbing, perturbing, disorganized, and if you give it sarasaman, means you organize it, you put it together. He says whatever love put together, that fire, when it comes, it burns away. Whatever love made up, whatever love organized, whatever love built. Not only that, also what's infidelity and what's iman, it means the same thing. It's like the speed of light. It doesn't matter what speed you pass it. It's the same thing. So it says that fire, don't talk about kufr. Kufr means I am kafir, I don't believe. Or I am, a believer of God and I have a belief. Baha'u'llah says they are so dismally weak, what you call iman, which is faith, is so weak, what you call kufr also, is so irrelevant that they all will burn away under this. One of these incidents you could see when this fire came out from the zulf, actually, which is the hair, what was Tahira. Tahira in Badasht. Tahira is one of the letters of the living and the elder of Baha'u'llah. Excuse me. In the Badasht, there were three garden that Baha'u'llah rented, one for himself and his entourage, and other one were the other believers that they were coming from other places, and one for Tahira because she was a woman, had to be separated from the men. And in that incident, Baha'u'llah, based on the wisdom of God, he has some kind of, he's feeling ill, he took ill, and the matter went to Tahira, and she, when I heard that, she just came right out of the tent or whatever, her house, to see what's happening to Baha'u'llah, apparently forgetting that she's coming without veil. Actually, she had her scarf, but her face for the first time did not have a burqa, that mask. Everyone saw the face. So that is that nar, the zulf, the hair of that. Maybe a little hair of Tahira was out. It created a fire. That, my God, it was so difficult for the believers, you have to understand where they come from, what they call faith. That one of them, he was a serious divine, this man, Abdu'l-Baha Isfahani. He actually took a knife and cut it, could not stand. As if for some devout Christians, imagine you're seeing Holy Mary right in the middle of the street trying to have sex with somebody. It's unimaginable to you. If you see that as a devout believer of Christianity, suicide. You're going to get a heart attack to see this. It was that hard for them to see the face of Tahira. To them it was just a no. It has to be a complete hijab. Knowing that she's the return of Fatima, the most holy woman of Islam. you know, the essence of the immaculate essence, as Shobi Effendi calls her. And now she's the return of her, and she's coming without hijab. That was it. That was the fire that on that day there was no difference between fidelity, infidelity, between faith, between transgression, between whatever you thought is love, for which you came all the way from long distances to participate in that first conference. Everything was burned away on that day. The matter of it was so bad that many of the believers completely took the other side against Tahirih. When Quddus saw this, he took his sword out, and Quddus' second to Bab is like John the Baptist. He drew the sword. He drew the sword and said, "Why are you doing that?" There was a discussion, kind of argument between Tahirih and Quddus, which Baha'u'llah went and quieted down and said, "This has been prophesied that this will happen." And the company of the left and the right, when the incident happens, called the incident in Quran, the chapter, and that is, Baha'u'llah said, this is the incident, and so it calmed everybody down. I'm just trying to tell you. So you're talking that this man is kafir. I said, well, okay. It's so little, so dismal. It won't make it. It can't harm anybody, that kind of infidelity or that kind of a faith. It is faith according to you, but your standard is too low. Baha'u'llah is talking about a stamina of your spiritual love. What do you want to do? What fire are you going to put your steel under? This one will melt away. So, again, back to goes another description of the power. He says, Zulfa'u Nauri Chabar Fawran Chamat. Zulf again, which is the hair. U, him or her, whichever one you like. This U does not apply to, when you're applying to God, is not he or she. Always they say he because it's a reference to manifestation of God, and he manifestation always has been a man, so they use the word he. He's a reference to manifestation, not to God. God doesn't have gender. So it says Zulfa'u Nauri, her hair is that fire that bar Fawran Chamat. Fawran is there's a Mount Paran. It's also a huge desert. There's dispute how far that Fawran or Paran goes, all the way from Israel all the way to Egypt. It covers Saudi Arabia, and clearly in the Bible there are verses that talks about the king of Paran, which would be the Muhammad, the prophet of God. But Christians and Jews, Orthodox, they try to disapprove of that. He says that the Zulf, his hair, is the fire that Chamad means like going very, what is the word in English for it? We have a word, you have a word, it's called charisma, which really in Persian is called kareshme. This kareshma, which is turned into English to become charisma, is that what it means, charisma. This hair is swaying and swinging so beautifully, lovingly, in all that Paran, where all these prophets and all the prophecies that has to be there. It is that kind of a fire, you see. And it says, Ham betarash gardane gordan chamat. Again, a stamina. Ham also. Two, tar means just one single hair. A tar of a hair, or a tar of a means hair, or zolf here. One tar is one hair. It says one tar of the hair. Gardan means the neck. Gordan is the plural for gourd. Gourd, which could be an English word that from Persian has come to English and has been used depending on what it means. Gourd means a gallant, a man of a lot of power. He says one hair, the very neck of this huge, big gallant will bend, Hamat. One hair of it will bend the neck of the greatest warrior. That kind of a power is it in it, he says. And truly we have seen in the Baha'i faith, when we hear the stories of Suleiman Khan and so many others, they were seriously amazing individual in the gallantry and the power, and they were all bent down in front of the love of God. See, so that's what he says. Then Baha'u'llah, all of a sudden, this is a sudden things. He as if doesn't want to explain anymore. He's disappointed. He remembers as if. He says, what am I saying? To who? Then he says to himself, Bas kun ey varqa, to az asrar nar. Stop it. Bas kun. Enough. Bas means enough. Bas kun means to stop it. Ey, oh, varqa. Varqa means the dove. Persian they say kabutar. Arabic they say varqa. Varqa, the divine dove, it is Baha'u'llah. The divine dove, it is in the tablet of Ahmad. I can't remember right now. But he says, stop it, O divine dove, you, from asrar nar, from the secret of the nar, secret of the fire, the secret of the burning bush that Moses says, stop that. Don't talk about it anymore. Lu'lu'e jan, lo. This was once supreme before I brought it. Lo means the pearl that's in the shell. Lu'lu'e jan, the lu'lu is spirit, spiritual lu'lu, which are his words, which are his wisdom. Pishe in front of this, Quran, blind, mayar, do not bring. Mayar means do not bring. Quran, Kur means blind. Quran means blinds. In is that. Pish in front. Lu'lu'e jan means the spiritual pearl. Do not bring the spiritual pearl in front of this spiritually blinds. Enough of it, he says. What are you saying? Baha'u'llah had many of his writings. He just threw it in the river. He said he just felt that it is too much. It's enough. So he didn't want to throw it in the river. The secret that he felt, people are not ready for it. So after saying this, he sort of knows he had to continue his mission. He goes back, trying to explain again. This time he's trying to go back to the story and the doctrine of Asa. Asa means the staff of Moses. You heard when Moses went in front of the Pharaoh, the staff that ironically Pharaoh gave it to him, and he threw it and it turned into a dragon, or a snake eats up the other snakes. And Baha'u'llah said, no, that Asa, which the whole story of it means the power of God and the power of what God can do. It says, if you think that is a sign of the power of God, Baha'u'llah says, it's nothing. It's an old story. It was little milk, God gave it to the baby to grow. It's not a real steak. This is not the food for today's mankind. So, he says, in Asa, this staff, Seifi Bovad, it is a safe. Safe means a sword, a saber. This staff is a saber. That, Kaz means K-Az. They take away the H and A at the end and combine it and they make a Kaz. Kaz means K-Az means that of. This staff is, bovad is, I means a safe, a saver, that of Kaz, dast haq, the hand of the truth, the hand of God. He says, this asa that Moses had today is a safe, is a saber, that in the hand of the God, mi bedarrad, saf imkan chun varaq. Mi bedarrad means tearing apart, cutting. Saf imkan, saf means the lines, the layers. Imkan, creations, the layers of the creations. Chun, like, varaq, like a leaf, like a page of a paper. It says this asa today is a safe that can cut the creation into pages, into leaves, to lines. This is that big. It's not that little thing that ate a couple of the snakes, but it can deal with the entire creation. It's that big it is. Which means it's the analyzing power of the God. That it is that safe that analyzes everything, shreds everything, describes everything, brings everything up, piece by piece, page by page. And goes back again to the staff of Moses. It is reference to that. On asa, that asa means the staff, the cane, on is that, as from dohe bostan padid. Dohe means a tree, big huge tree. You see, that staff came out as from dohe, a big tree of a bostan, of a garden. Well, the staff is made out of wood, so it's coming from a big tree in a garden. It's not a reference that is not talking about the physical asa that's coming from. No. He's talking about what you think of that power of that staff. It is as simple as that you can cut a tree and get that. Which means you can even ask Abbas and he will give you that asa. But if you're asking God and his limit of the power, his asa is not that. He says, Win asa, which is his staff today, that is his cause, as amr haq awmat padid. The difference between the tree and amr haq, which means the cause of God, the cause of God makes the entire creation. Okay? This asa, he says, was created from the cause of God. Cause of God has created this asa. So it's a huge one, a huge responsibility, a huge power, as opposed to that asa that you can cut a tree and create a cane, or get a simple idea from some philosophers and get an idea equal to that staff of Moses and deal with basically a little region of the earth and few cities and tell them few things. Such as it was, But today the asa, which is the same asa as Moses had, but it was used that day for the little things. Now the real asa, which comes the cause of God, of course his power is limitless. The entire creation is made. God used that asa and says be, and the entire creation became. He says asa is that. Really asa is the will of God. It's the staff that God uses it, and the entire creation, is formed out of it. So having the opinions of the past and description of your God is so little, so limited. Even what you call, the guy is an infidel. Why? Because he didn't, he's not taking fast, or he's not doing this or that, or certain rules was not followed or whatnot. of course, what their production is way beyond. We just saw last time that Zabihullah, which was a Baha'i, and he had to put up with the scorning and mocking of Baha'u'llah by the enemies. And whatever Baha'u'llah is trying to tell him that, you know, it's okay. And he couldn't. He had too much love towards Baha'u'llah, and he couldn't take this counsel. Be nice to this bastard. He said, you know what? I can't see the one I love so much to be spit at, to be thrown mud at, and he's forgiving, and I cannot watch it. He went and suicided. That is an act of suicide. He went and killed himself and threw himself into it. Is that a suicide? Yes. Is there a penalty for that? Yes. But for this huge minus things that he had, which was killing himself, what he achieved was so big that his kufr, his infidelity, his act of, you know, not obedient, it was so little compared to what he was and what he achieved in the feeling and the feeling of love. It was so big. Baha'u'llah says the purest blood it was that poured on the ground. So it's all minuses and pluses. Doesn't matter who we are. But why certain act of infidelity does not make the person to go out of the faith is because his positive side has been so big, so much. And there's one thing relate from one of these big Sufi. His name is Shams of Tabriz. Tabriz is a city. Shams means sun, but is the name of this gentleman. And Rumi, the great mystics of Iran, definitely the greatest of all the Muslims in understanding the Islam, who was, you know, a student, a pupil to this Shams. And it is related from Shams that he says, Zahi Kafiran Musalman. Good, he says, for those kafir, the infidel Muslims. Infidel can be Muslims? He says, yeah. Infidel Muslims who are surrendering and being a Muslim, which means Muslim means surrendering to their infidelity. And these Muslims, they call themselves surrender to God, they come nothing out of them. He says, I prefer, in, you know, lump sum, those infidels that they show the power of infidelity. And these Muslims, they have no stamina to indicate anything from their power of love or power of surrendering to God, but yet to call them Muslims. So it is very important that we exert the maximum power that we have. And it is not, this maximum power is not that, okay, I'm ready to go and die. No, a lot of time we die and we get charged in the next life for killing ourselves. Actually, we get arrested. The body was given to be here for 70 years, but you terminated it at age 50 or 30 and you call that martyrdom. Immediately you find out you made a wrong decision and a wrong deal, because you throw the seed into a barren land and watered it, but nothing came out of it. You see, there was no fruit. That is not it. A stamina, spiritual stamina, is not that you can take the torture and they kill you and you say nothing. No. It is how much power of attachment you have to God and detachment from the material. Again, you have to reiterate this. Detachment does not mean to go and live under the fig tree or go right down into the cave and say that I don't want nothing. No. No. You have to be in the middle of all the materials, all the responsibilities, everything, to have wife, to have children, to have job, everything. Yet, all of these has to have connected and revolve around the center of your being, which God says, that is my phone number. That is my phone. I left it in the middle of you. That is your willpower. I left it there. Don't get it engulfed. When the call comes that you have to go and defend the truth, you who have all your life were of the materials. And people, they thought you're a wealthy man. But boy, oh boy, on that minute you leave everything and you answer the call. You have been detached. That is why you can. Because if you're attached, then all those things. They said that when Wahid al-Arabi, the divine of the Shah of Iran, went to investigate the Bab, well, he found Bab is the true one, and he said to King, I'm not coming back, I'm staying here. Well, then he was charged with treason and whatnot, and they tried to kill him. He was a wealthy man. He had houses in Yazd, in Darab, in few cities. And the house with a lot of things, really, you know, the level of the king. He was a royal, you know, divine of the royal court. So when they come to attack, his wife was saying to him that, let's take this stuff out of here at least. Wahid said, no, everything stays here, as it is. I have taken it from God, and I'm going to give it back to him, just the way I took it. Look at the trust he had. The trustworthy, he said. None of it is mine, never has been mine. None of it is worth saving. It's not mine to save, he says. It was given by God, and I kept it. Now the time has come, it has to go to him. But she wouldn't understand. Why doesn't he do? Like you think Wahid, who is ready to die, would actually care about that golden utensil there? Or that beautiful chair? What is more beautiful than his own life? He's giving it, and the life of others who took responsibility of to give. That is called a degree of detachment. A very good example. The man who had everything, very wealthy and rich, that's called detachment. Because if you're not to have anything, how do we know you're attached or detached? So you have everything and now you let go of it. Then you show detachment. So it is not that you have the energy and the power, you can go and die and take the knife in your hand for the sake of God. No. If you're detached completely, be it you're an old lady, so frail, you would withstand the torture just like a big, huge guy. You can. It has proven. Because you are using the total energy of God in the center of you to respond, to the call. You withstand it. Never no fear comes into you. Fear comes only because of attachment. If there's no attachment, there can't be any fear. Fear of what? Very well. We talked a little bit here about continuation of this Mathnavi. I shall be speaking to you, God willing, later to continue this. Baha'u'llah be with you. Hope you do something about it soon.